We didn't get the opportunity to talk about it earlier in the week, but we're going to take the chance to talk about it now. This week, Northwestern, I guess last Saturday, Northwestern unveiled the Chicago-themed basketball jerseys, and we're going to talk about it here.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. This is Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Carter Bird, and thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today. For anything and everything Northwestern, we've got you covered. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. And we're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us there. Wherever you are listening, make sure you are subscribed. You turn on notifications because you don't want to miss an episode. If you're listening, give us some feedback. Leave a comment. Submit a review. We would love to get that feedback. It helps us with the show. Also, today's episode is brought to you by Sling TV. Don't miss this week's matchups and the bowl games in college basketball. Really, I mean, NBA, NFL, all of it, right here on Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it today. All right, let's jump into this. We have Northwestern has done something the last, I guess, few years that is really, really cool. They did a little earlier this basketball season than they have in the past, and I really, really liked it, and that's the Chicago flag jerseys that they unveiled this week. Obviously, the Chicago's own jerseys is what they're calling them. They wore them on Saturday for the DePaul game, and the part of the By the Players series that the senior players design every year. They've done it for, I believe, the last 6 seasons. So Chase Audige, Boo Buie, Robbie Barron, and Roy Dixon III. Those are your seniors that helped design this jersey, and they worked with Under Armour to create them. And it matches up with the school slogan of being Chicago's Big Ten team. They also plan to wear them on January 4th against Illinois, and then March 1st against Penn State. So we will see them 2 more times, so be on the lookout for them there. And look, I mean, typically they've only worn these on the final home game of the season, but they broke them out earlier this year. I like that. I think it's a way to generate some buzz around the basketball program. The seniors announced them in a Northwestern Athletics video titled "By the Players for Chicago." It was obviously shot in Chicago. Cool thing that Under Armour's done. They've actually created some merch, some T-shirts, some athletic shirts, some long sleeve athletic shirts that kind of coincide with these jerseys. I may have to go get me one because they've got those Chicago flag colors all over them. The main logo, it's got the NU with the basketball, like almost like a shooting star going across the front. Inspired by the 1990s Seattle Sonics jerseys. That's what inspired the main logo on the very front. They've got the flag striping on the pants. That's inspired by the 1970 New York Nets, the 1970s New York Nets, rather. And look, I mean, it looks really, really good. It kind of gave me like old the color scheme and the way it all looked, it did give me throwback Nets vibes. So I liked that. I thought that they were just sick. I thought they were awesome. I think it's a great change of pace for Northwestern. It's a great way to, continue to make that claim of being Chicago's Big Ten team. continuing to bridge that connection with Chicago. It's a way to honestly, I hope they break it out more often than they plan to. I mean, just 3 times. I hope it becomes more of a permanent part of the rotation because I think this one's a fan. I've gone back and I've looked at what all the other by the players series jerseys look like. This one's by far my favorite. I think it's a very clean look. The white jersey, the flag colors really pop, especially when you're used to seeing the purple, the white, and the black. This is a good look. And I mean, it's not the first time we've seen alternate jerseys by any stretch, but I think it's really cool. I mean, every basketball team has some sort of alternate go-to jersey. I hope that Northwestern keeps these in the rotation, though, especially if the team's going to start playing like they have since they busted these out on Saturday with a dominant performance against DePaul. And then, I mean, they kept playing well this week. But I wouldn't mind this team gets hot after if they win that January 1st game and they win, or if they win that January 4th game against Illinois and then they win that March 1st game against Penn State. Maybe you break it out for the Big Ten tournament. Maybe it becomes a because some baseball teams, because they're superstitious, they will go with a certain hat if they start winning games, or a certain jersey, or they'll let a pitcher pick the jersey. If you keep winning in it, keep wearing it. Keep wearing it. If they go 3-0 in it, I think you got to keep finding a way to put it out there and keep trying to win games with it. I think it's a really, really cool concept. The idea that the players got to design it, I think, is neat. Something you don't see that often. And I think it definitely makes it a little more personal for the guys wearing it. And, I mean, maybe there's an aspect of I designed it. We're breaking it out. It's a really cool look. It's going to get extra attention. I have to perform in it. You got to show up and show out in the jerseys that you had a hand in designing. But all in all, I think these jerseys are really, really cool. In a second, we're going to talk about, I guess, maybe some other sports with this kind of idea and what that would look like. But first, let's talk about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From pro football to college bowl season to basketball, and look, really any other sport you can find, we've got it all at BetOnline. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today, and really every day. Make sure you check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and Locked On's take of the day. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's jump into this because I do want to talk about this more. I do want to talk about the idea of this. Why can't other sports for Northwestern start to break out these jerseys more and more? I think specifically the one that jumps out is football. With how well these jerseys looked and the natural, I guess, colors of the Chicago flag, the light blue, the red, the white, you could create a city flag themed jersey that I think would really pop. We know how well light blue, Carolina blue, those colors work in football uniforms. We know how they work in baseball uniforms. Anybody who wears a Carolina blue, light blue baseball uniform, it looks great. I think you could do something similar for football. You might even be able to put together a road white one, very similar to this basketball jersey. It's a way to give respect, to give recognition to the city of Chicago. Like I said in the last segment, it's a way to further build up that and bridge that connection to Northwestern and from Chicago. It's a great way to generate excitement. It's a way to excite your players, excite your fan base, get extra eyeballs. More people watch the games. To be honest, if I know a team is breaking out a really cool alternate jersey, I'm probably going to at least tune in and check it out. So you can showcase your school, you can showcase your program by breaking out a special jersey like this. And look, everybody has different combinations. Northwestern has a ton of them. You saw, almost a different combination every single game. I think it may have been a different combination every single game in football this year. And by continuing to spice it up, to branch out, to show something different, show something unique, you make an impression with recruits. And that's valuable. I mean, look, Oregon's a great example of this. Oregon has 1,000 whatever combinations of uniforms. Heck, they got one where they look like a daggum duck. Oregon State has one where they look, it's their face mask is painted to look like beaver teeth. Florida has the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Shout out Brandon Olson of Locked On Gators, where they dressed up basically as gators, as alligators, and it looked horrendous. Everybody has different combinations of uniforms. We know Northwestern does, but I think a Chicago-themed Northwestern football uniform would really, really pop. I think it would be talked about a lot. I think there's a way to do it and make it look really good. There's a lot of positives. There's a lot of reasons why I could see you would do it. You can break it out for a big game, generate excitement, get more people in the stands, make that atmosphere just a little more electric. I mean, it'd be cool to see it in other sports. It'd be really cool in football. You can do a city jersey like basketball did, and then you can also do exactly what basketball does as well, which is these player design, player influenced jerseys. I just think it'd be really neat. I think it'd be really cool. I think it's a way to differentiate your program, to showcase your program. And I hope that Fitz saw how cool these Northwestern basketball jerseys were. And he decides, you know what? That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. We may need to look into that. Because, when you look at it, I just think something that every now and then something that is like jarringly different, not jarring in a bad way, jarringly different from the norm, which we're used to white, purple, black for everything. There's different ways to do it, but if you go white, light blue, and red, may cause some people to do a double take. Be like, hold on, that's Northwestern. I just think it'd be fun. I really do. And I think, look, heck, break out the city jerseys when you unveil a new stadium in a few years. If you want to wait that long, I would like to do it sooner. But I think that's a really cool way to invite the city of Chicago into your new stadium to experience what is being discussed as the new standard for college football stadiums and really just stadiums in the U.S. in general. I think that there's a lot of intriguing opportunities with jerseys in other sports, specifically football. And I hope that Northwestern looks at what the basketball team did and decides, we can do something with that. We can do something. We can do something really unique. We can do something really, really cool. I just think it would be a lot of fun. It'd be a blast to talk about, absolutely. And I just hope that somebody was taking notes. That's probably all the uniform talk that we're going to have today. In a second, we're gonna try to slap together a weekly Friday kind of picks segment that we normally do. Normally, we have a better option. We're just kind of shooting from the hip on some bowl games with some teams that, I'll be honest, don't know as much about. And there are a couple of Big Ten basketball games coming up, though, and we will talk about those. But first, let's talk about driving under the influence. Did you know that driving high is considered driving under the influence? That's right. Driving under the influence of marijuana is against the law in every state, even in states where marijuana is legal. That means driving high could get you a DUI. And if you think law enforcement officers can't tell when you're driving high, you're wrong. Your friends can tell, your coworkers can tell, even your parents can tell. Everyone can tell. So what makes you think law enforcement officers don't know when you're driving high? Driving under the influence of marijuana can slow your response time and can change how you perceive time and speed. So even if you think you're fine to drive when you're high, you're not. Because the bottom line is, if you feel different, you drive different. Driving high is driving under the influence. So remember, drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by the NHTSA. Also, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today. Now make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Peter Bukowski brings you the biggest stories from around the sports world in 20 minutes. Get the analysis and opinions before anyone else with our local and national experts and insiders. Locked On Sports Today podcast available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, picks here. First off, I guess today, when this pod is going to come out, Louisiana versus Houston. Houston is a 7-point favorite, over under of 56.5. I think Houston's been a kind of a subpar team this year compared to expectations. Louisiana has kind of crashed down to earth after Billy Napier is gone. But I think Houston finds a way to keep Louisiana in it. Give me Louisiana +7, and I'm going to go under 56.5 in that one. Next up, Wake Forest and Missouri. Wake Forest is a 2.5-point favorite in that one. And the over-under is 58.5. I'm going to go with Wake Forest -2.5 in this one. They've been a better team all year long. I don't think Missouri's that good. I think Missouri kind of lucked their way into a bowl game. So give me Wake +2.5. And I'll go under 58.5 as well. Next up, Middle Tennessee State versus San Diego State. In this one, San Diego State is a 7-point favorite, over under 48.5. I don't think these two teams are teams that can score a bunch, regardless of the Middle Tennessee State game where they lit Miami on fire. But give me Middle Tennessee State I'll take them +7, and then I'll go under again. I'm going to go under on all 3 of these games. We're going to transition to Big Ten basketball. There's a couple games going on. You've got Bucknell and Rutgers. Game is going to be at Rutgers for that one. Hang on while I grab a line. I don't have one for me. All of these lines, of course, are brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. They always have the best info, the best lines, the best everything, and that's why we love them so much. But the line on this one is Rutgers -20, 7-5 Bucknell team versus 7-4 Rutgers team. Rutgers has handled their business for the most part at home. Bucknell has not been a good team on the road. I'll take Rutgers to cover 20, and I'll go under 130. Or I'm going to go over 132 in that because I'm going to stick with the Big Ten team there. The second game, you have Kennesaw State and Indiana. Indiana, 20-point favorite. Number 18, Indiana. They're undefeated at home. Kennesaw State has 3 of their 4 losses on the road. An Indiana team that I think is gearing up for Big Ten play. And so I'm going to take Indiana -20, and I will go over 141.5 in that one as well. Grambling was supposed to play number 17, Wisconsin. That game has been canceled. And that's really all the Big Ten basketball games here for a little while because I guess the holiday weekend and everything. Northwestern's not back in action until the 29th. Got that wrong last episode. Somehow just misread the schedule really badly. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. We talked about jerseys because Northwestern Basketball unveiled one of the coolest jerseys I've seen in a while that I thought was really cool for them. And I hope that it inspires football to do something similar. But yeah, it's been a fun week here on Locked On Northwestern. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We really appreciate it. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us. I'm your host, Carter Bird. You can follow me on social media at CarterBird13. And I'll see you all next time.